Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jason Laird with the Montana Ag Network and wanted to welcome two guests in today. Miss Rodeo Montana, Caitlin Kolka here out of the southeastern corner of Montana, and Keely Drummond out of Belt, so just down the road a little ways, and you're Miss Teen Rodeo Montana. So again, we're just kind of here for a casual sit-down conversation while you both are still rodeo royalty for the next couple of days, and just to kind of talk about, you know, what is the job of Miss Rodeo Montana? What goes into it? What's it like? And just kind of start from the top and tell me, I guess let's start with what got you into it first off. What kind of got your interest in even running to be Miss Rodeo and Miss Teen Rodeo Montana?
Well, I was bribed into my first queen pageant. I loved to rodeo and I loved agriculture, but I had no interest in the makeup or the hair or anything like that. But I was told that if I did, I would have more entry fees paid. And so that was easy decision for me. And then when I got my first title, I realized that not everybody grew up the way that I did. And not everybody understood why my family ranched or what it meant to be an agriculturalist. And more than that, that if I spoke as a rodeo queen, I could have an impact on their understanding of those things. And so I fell in love with the advocacy that you can do in this position.
Right on.
Well, my aunts had been rodeo queens when they were younger, and I had looked up to them. And then it took me a few years to convince my mom she did not want me. She did not want me to do it, to be prepared and doing all that stuff. So after talking with some other people and other friends that have been past Miss Rodeo Montana's and held other titles, I finally got her on board, and then from there we just kind of took off. So this is actually my first title that I've ever held, but I love it so much and I love doing what I get to do. Right
on. So being Miss Teen Rodeo Montana, can you then transition to Miss Rodeo Montana if you wanted to?
So I just have to wait till I become old enough, and then I want to wait a few years and finish college before I think about doing it. So
right, I would imagine it's quite a dedication.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like you just you know, sign up and get the title and kind of, you know, hang out. It's probably pretty in depth. So tell me a little bit about what goes into it as Miss Rodeo Montana. What all are you involved in? What do you do? So on and so forth.
It takes a lot. It's a lot of early mornings and late nights.
Right.
You don't sleep a lot, but it's one of the most incredible years of your life. I have traveled as Miss Rodeo Montana to quite a few different states and actually advocated for agriculture internationally this year.
Wow. So how about Miss Teen Rodeo Montana? Is it relatively the same thing, or more high school involved?
I've traveled all around the state, mostly during the summer this year, to PRCA rodeos. But yeah, I'm a junior in Belt, so I've been trying to balance high school and my work life with being Miss Teen Rodeo Montana too.
Right, so it takes quite a dedication. What are some of the stories that maybe over the past year you've are really memorable? Maybe one or two stories that, you know, like, yeah, maybe it was at a rodeo or an event or something that kind of stick out in your mind.
Each rodeo is special in a different way because there's a different committee, there's different contestants, and there's different kiddos.
Right.
So they each hold a special spot in our hearts. Red Lodge was probably one of my favorites. I got to work with a great stock contracting company. The Brooklyn Rodeo crew is just incredible, and we had an action-packed few days. Plus the taco place in Red Lodge is
Lost Tacos. That's the place to go to. So if you ever want to take a 5-hour road trip, go to Red Lodge.
Right on.
But I think it speaks to why we love rodeo, and being around Red Lodge during the 4th of July to see how much everybody that's involved loves our country. It just gives you hope for the future.
Right. And how about you?
Well, I would say Red Lodge was one of my favorite rodeos, but also the Big Sky Pro Rodeo here in Great Falls. I was able to have Miss Teen Rodeo Montana, or Miss Teen Rodeo Oregon, come out and visit me.
Okay.
So we came out here and we helped do whatever we needed to do for the committee and to stay around for the state fair for like a whole week. Right. So that was really awesome having her here and talk about Oregon versus Montana. So.
Right. And how important do you feel it is to have a title, not even for yourself, for instance, but just a title in general, like an outreach, I guess, program you could call it, such as Miss Rodeo Montana, to be able to get out in the community and get involved and spread rodeo? Because rodeo is a very unique sport, and it is a very American sport. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Rodeo is a culture, and it's a way that we celebrate our culture of ranching. You can date back every different event to something that we still practice on our ranch today. And when you look at the statistics that less than 2% of our nation has a direct tie to agriculture, it's now or never. We really have to be instrumental and focused on what our goal is and ensuring that our children will be able to take over our family ranches and that the rest of the world will still be able to be fed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How about?
I just think that being able to do what we do and having, I mean, we're not going to have the crowns on our heads forever,
Right.
but we've developed lots of relationships with people across the state and throughout the states. So being able to continue to do that is going to be awesome for our sport and for us as well.
Right. And what's it like to be out during the rodeo? You know, be out part of the rodeo during, you know, out riding around during the rodeo as Miss Rodeo and Miss Teen Rodeo Montana. I mean, it's got to have some pretty cool nostalgia to it, you know, like.
Oh, it is. I would say like carrying the American flag is one of the coolest things being out there, and then like you just get chills every single time when the crowd stands up and during the national anthems.
Right on.
And I think we can both remember Miss Rodeo Montanas and Miss Teen Rodeo Montanas that were role models to us.
Right.
So to realize that you are that person for other little girls is pretty incredible and very, very, it's a big honor for us.
Miss Rodeo, you know, Montana, or even just Miss Rodeo America, I mean, it's very classy the way things are done. So talk about that a little bit, how it's different from your typical pageants.
One thing with a rodeo queen pageant is the girls need to be able to back up what they put forward. So they have to take a written test, they have to have an ability to understand horsemanship knowledge as well as current events and so much more. So it's also, you know, with that, as well as the fact that they're required to dress a little bit more appropriately, something that we in the agricultural industry really value.
Right, right. And I would assume it's pretty close to the same thing, Keely, on the teen level as well. Right
Lots of studying and preparing and memorizing things.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, you know, with the contestants coming in here for this next round, it would be 2019, Miss Teen and Miss Rodeo Montana. Any advice that you would give both the contestants and the next Miss Rodeo Montana?
Be ready for things to change and never say no. You are going to be asked to do a lot of different things throughout the year, and as long as you show up and you're ready to help and you can adapt, your year will be incredible.
Right on.
Kind of like with what Caitlin said, like never say no. Don't say no to anything. You're going to look back and regret it. So you always have to let your mom help you. That was one of the things I learned is I like doing everything myself, letting her handle things, and listening to what she says was probably one of the #1 things that helped me get through this year the way I did.
Right, right. And any maybe tips for contestants?
Oh goodness, just keep smiling. You know, it sounds so cliche, but that's seriously. There are going to be moments that they're going to wish that they had given a different answer, or they had worked a little bit harder on their hair that morning, or things aren't going to go right. But that's life, and you're never going to have a day where things go perfectly. So it's just about continuing to roll with the punches, continuing to smile, because, you know, while it might be the 782nd kid that you have seen that day, that's the 10 seconds that they've met you for their entire life. And so it's just a great thing to keep in mind for your entire year, is that you are Miss Rodeo Montana to not only everybody that you see on the regular, but those people that you see just for those 10 seconds.
Right on. And what kind of transitions, once you hang up the crown, how does life kind of transition for you? Or how do you plan for it to transition, I guess, once you hang up the crown?
Well, on Monday and Tuesday, I have to go back to school and take my semester finals. So hopefully that transition goes good, which it's easier this year because I have a little bit of downtime where I can study. But being able to go back and be a normal high school student and working normally, so that's hopefully what I'm looking forward to.
And I have a job, so
back to the adult world.
Yes,
right?
back to the adult world.
There you go.
Student loan payments and all that.
Yeah, right. Fun.
I work as an extension agent, so we're transitioning into our free tax period.
Sure.
So for 3 months, we do taxes for those in the community that need that service, and then just continuing to advocate for agriculture and rodeo from that side of things.
Right on. Well, I think that pretty much answered all of my questions. Anything that I missed out on that you both want to add in that really has just kind of stuck out with your, you know, Miss Teen and Miss Rodeo Montana careers?
I just would, you know, make sure that girls know that if this is something they're interested in, there are tons of former queens that would love to help you, would love to answer questions. So please reach out. We always love helping the next generation get their feet wet and get started in advocating for the sport and way of life that we live and love.
Right on. Keely?
Kind of like, yeah, what Caitlin said, like both of us or any girls or any of the girls competing this year, that we all love helping other girls, and we're all going to welcome them into our sport and what we do as queens.
Right on. Very cool. Anything else you want to add in?
Let's rodeo.
Let's rodeo. Right on. Well, thank you again. So we had Caitlin Kolka out of the southeastern corner of Montana, and Keely Drummond right here in Belt, Montana, Miss Teen Rodeo and Miss Rodeo Montana. So thanks again for joining us here on the Montana Ag Network.